So The Walking Dead has many spin-offs, and the kindest thing I can say about most of them is that they're not great. I'll use a few here as an example. Fear the Walking Dead was okay for a while, then just, ugh. World Beyond, ugh. Daryl Dixon and Dead City are alright, but I couldn't get invested in the majority of the new characters. I'm not totally caught up on Daryl Dixon, but I actually liked it for the most part. Dead City I liked a lot less, but I have a feeling there's a video coming about that very soon, so I won't say too much. What I'm getting at is the Walking Dead community have gotten very used to disappointment, and even though I find it very unfortunate that that's true, we weren't getting the best of the best as the show came to a close, and we definitely weren't getting the best of the best when it came to the spin-offs. But there was one I had a lot of hope for, one that had me so incredibly hyped because two of my favorite characters from the original show were returning after years away. And of course, that show was The Ones Who Live, which marked the return of Rick and Michonne Grimes. And I'm not going to beat around the bush or prolong absolutely anything. I'm just going to come flat out and say it. I loved this show, and I'm here to talk about why. Seeing Rick Grimes again? Hell yeah. Seeing Michonne again? Hell yeah. Seeing Jadis again, and Rick going full-on comics on his arm right off rip, that was cool as hell and showed that we were in for something very serious. And we were, because dude, the writing and new characters in this show were so solid. Okafor, are you kidding me? He deserves so much more than just one episode. His involvement in the Atlanta bombings makes him one of the most important new characters we've gotten in forever. And he was a complex and cool new character with multiple layers. He was a good soldier, but he killed his wife. He killed thousands, but he saved hundreds of thousands. He is one of the few CRM soldiers that were trying to change things, or at least had the hope of changing things. It's a real shame he was limited to just a single episode, but if we started talking about wasted characters in The Walking Dead, we'd be here for a while. Even Nat was a treat for the time we got him on screen. A super empathetic character whose makeshift grenade launcher, the Scream Stick, is the sole reason Rick and Michonne even reunited. But I will admit, while those two characters were very good, seeing King Batch in a Walking Dead show was immersion breaking to say the least. But even he seemed to give it a good go. And unlike Okafor and Nat, if you didn't like him, he wasn't even around for a complete episode. We had a few other new characters that I thought were pretty cool, like Beale and Thorne. I know Thorne gets a lot of shit because people found her annoying, and she tried getting in between Rick and Michonne, trying to kill Michonne a couple of times, and naturally, because of how many people like Michonne, they wouldn't like a new character coming out of nowhere and trying to kill her. Not to mention, a lot of people found her accent annoying, but if I'm not mistaken, she actually is from South Africa. She only pumps it up a little bit for the show. But no, in general, this show had some really solid new characters who felt natural and interesting, and added a great deal to the plot and overall mythos of The Walking Dead, despite how much time they get on screen. Once again, Okafor deserved better. And before we move forward, I need to talk about a returning character, Jadis, who is honestly one of, if not the actual primary antagonist of the series. She pops in right after Michonne joins Rick at the CRM and becomes just an absolute thorn in their side the entire show. The way she threatens Rick with the death of Michonne and everyone else he loves because of what he now knows about the CRM is the biggest threat that our protagonists face throughout the entire series, nearly tearing them apart because of how Rick goes about it. And we get to see this absolute cockroach of a character find herself in a position of power once again, giving up her happy ending with Gabriel for the CRM, and in the end, despite all of her efforts of self-preservation, she dies to a walker bite, followed by a gunshot by Rick. Fitting way to end things, following everything that happened between them. She was an incredibly complex character who in her final moments finally lets go and redeems herself as much as she could at that point. But I think this show is at its strongest when we get those character moments with Rick and Michonne. Overall, this whole series is a love story. There's gore and violence and zombies, but at its core, this show is all about the love Rick and Michonne have for each other. Rick is broken and has absolutely given in completely to the CRM, and by the time he's reunited with Michonne, he can't go through that loss again. He can't lose her, he can't die all over again, and that's why for the first 3 episodes, we see how Rick got to that point, and how dangerously close Michonne got too. How Rick has no more hope, and he has to come to terms with the fact that Michonne has to leave again, and he has to stay, because otherwise he'd be putting everyone's life in danger. And if Michonne leaves, he can at least pretend she's alright without knowing if she is. And that's a heavy mental tax to pay, and he goes so far as to lie to Michonne just to get her to leave without him. And that's not like Rick at all. And if you know Michonne, you know she wouldn't just back down like that. And it all comes to its breaking point in episode 4, which is, in my opinion, the best episode of the show. It's an entire episode of Rick and Michonne trying to figure stuff out. They argue, fight walkers, and they have an absolutely amazing scene where Michonne finally breaks through to Rick, and it's some of Andrew and Denai's finest acting. They leveled up their performances so much for this series, it's insane. They were always good, 2 of the best acted characters on the original show, but they seriously took it to a whole different level for this one. Probably because they had to. Each episode of this show cost $13 million to make on average, which is $10 million more than the average Walking Dead episode. So AMC probably told them, y'all gotta bring your A game because we don't got much else going going on right now, and we have a lot riding on you guys, and thankfully that was money well spent, because forget just the acting, this show looks phenomenal. I really like the use of green and orange for a lot of the shots. It doesn't look like the original show at all, which does suck because I feel like the gritty, grainy, and washed out look the original show had really played a huge part in the atmosphere, and the newer Walking Dead shows look far too polished. But if I'm going to take it as it is, I liked it. It was really cinematic, which is interesting because originally this was actually going to be a movie before it was swapped to a miniseries. But I feel like I've talked enough about the things I like. The new characters, Rick and Michonne, and the cinematography, but now I want to talk about some of the things I didn't really like. Because it wouldn't be a Walking Dead show without something going a bit off track. And to me, that was the whole ending of the CRM. This was supposed to be the most fierce and ruthless militia in the whole world at that point. And it went from that, this big monstrous thing, to completely changed and destroyed in just one episode. This show would have 100% benefited from more episodes. At least one or two more for the final encounter with the CRM. Everything up to that point was pretty good. The way Jadis went out, all the new characters, Rick and Michonne, but man, the first 4 episodes really did carry the show. Episode 6, for the most part, felt rushed. Seeing Rick and Judith reunite and seeing Rick meet RJ, that was good. This could have been something much better if the final episode didn't feel so rushed. But where was the Daryl-Rick reunion? I don't care if he's in France. I don't care if the Walking Dead timeline hasn't made sense in years. They already blueballed us with that in the Daryl show. Like, seriously, that's all fans wanted to see. And from what I was able to see online, The Ones Who Live takes place before the Daryl Dixon show. Now, I don't know if that's true because on one Reddit thread, I saw 3 different dates, so who actually knows? Walking Dead timeline makes no sense. Before the Walking Dead universe is over, we better get that reunion, especially because that was Daryl's whole fucking reason for going out there. But I'll leave that to the writers and I'll give my final thoughts now. Overall, The Ones Who Live, like I said, was absolutely great, and the best thing we've gotten from The Walking Dead in the last 5+ years. Not a high standard, but this one actually does stand out from the rest. It told its story and got out, and that's what sets it apart. Way too many of these Walking Dead shows just keep going, and it just gets old and bad after a while. And that's why I'm thankful that even though the last episode was rushed, that was it for the series. It can't be ruined, fingers crossed. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna keep this outro nice and quick this time and just say my next video, part 3 of the Dexter book series, is coming out next week. Subscribe, comment, and like if you would like, and I will see you guys next time.